Lesson 1-3B, solving equations extended. Just a heads up, this is a independent practice assignment. We were going to do these three problems together, or well, we did these three problems together, or we're going to do these three problems together in class. And then these problems on the back, you're going to complete independently. So if you want, here are the answers. You can take a quick picture, take a quick screenshot, whatever your heart desires. But just know that you're going to need to show your work to show me that x is -8, x is 6, inconsistent, identity, and so forth. If you think there's any errors, let me or Miss Fiorinelli know, and we'll definitely look at our solutions. All right, so let's see how we solved these problems in class. So in our first equation, we have x divided by 12 plus 3 equals 9. The first thing I want to do is I want to isolate that x divided by 12 term. That way I can get rid of my 12 and then get x by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to subtract 3 from both sides of my equation, and then I get x divided by 12 equals 6. Now, there are two ways I can do this. Right now, I can ask myself, how do I get rid of a divide by 12? And that's by multiplying by 12. 12's cancel, and then I get x is equal to 72. Now, if you didn't want to do it that way, there's another way you could have done it. So this is like way 1. Here's way 2. So if you have x divided by 12 equals 6, that 6 is really over 1. I believe it was Helen who mentioned it. I can cross multiply, and I get x is equal to 72. So I still get the exact same answer, just a different method. Now let's look at number 2. In number 2, I want to isolate this term. That way I can get my x by itself. So I have 8 times x minus 4 divided by 3 minus 5 equals -21. So I have to ask myself, how do I get rid of that minus 5? It's pretty straightforward. I add 5. So I'm going to add 5 to each side of my equation. So I have 8 times x minus 4 divided by 3 equals -16. Now, you can do the same thing. I can cross multiply, so I can cross multiply, or I can get rid of that divide by 3 by multiplying by 3. Well, 1 times anything is itself, so I'm going to be left with 8 times x minus 4 equals -16 times 3 is, I believe, -48. Now I distribute my 8 to each term, so I have 8x minus 32 equals -48. Now I want to ask myself, how do I get rid of a subtract by 32? I'm going to add 32 to both sides of my equation. That gives me 8x equals -16, and then I'm going to divide by 8. So x is equal to -2, and that's my final answer. Let's see how we do number 3. Number 3, I have -10 times x minus 3 minus 5x equals -2 times x plus 1 plus 7x. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute. So I get -10x plus 30 minus 5x equals -2x minus 2 plus 7x. Now we're going to combine our like terms, one side at a time. So -10x minus 5x is -15x. And then I'm just left with a plus 30 equals -2x is a like term with 7x, so that becomes 5x minus 2. Now I'm going to get my x's on one side, numbers on the other, so I'm going to subtract 5x, subtract 5x. That gives me -20x plus 30 equals -2. Now I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides of my equation. -2 minus 30 is -32, and then I'm going to divide by -20. And when I type that into my calculator, I get 1.6. And that is the final answer. So those are the level of difficulty of equations that we're going to be doing for the most part. Definitely like number 2 and number 3. So make sure you're very familiar with how to do those. So please now try to do these problems on the back by yourself. If you have any questions, let myself or Miss Fiorinelli know.